You get a call out of nowhere. Someone claims you owe money on a credit card you barely remember. Maybe it was from years ago, maybe over a decade, and now a debt collector is demanding payment. So here's the question nobody tells you the answer to. Can they actually make you pay that? Welcome to Know the Law. Today we are breaking down zombie debt. What it is, what collectors can and cannot do, and most importantly, what rights you have when one of these old debts comes back from the dead. This is information that could save you from making a very costly mistake. So stay with us through the end. Zombie debt is old debt. Debt that has aged past what is called the statute of limitations. That is a legal deadline. Once that deadline passes, collectors generally lose their right to sue you in court to force you to pay. Think of it like an expiration date on their legal power to drag you into a courtroom. Now here is where people get confused. In virtually all states, that expiration date does not make the debt disappear. The debt is still there. You still legally owe the money. The law in most states only strips away the collector's ability to sue you. The debt itself survives. It just cannot be enforced through the courts in virtually all states. How long before a debt becomes time-barred? That depends on where you live. Under most state laws, the window for credit card debt ranges from roughly 3 years on the short end to 10 years on the longer end. The variation is significant. Knowing your state's specific rules matters a great deal here. There is another wrinkle worth knowing. In most states, certain actions can actually restart that clock. Making a payment, entering a payment plan, or even just acknowledging and writing that you owe the debt can revive the statute of limitations in many places. That means a zombie debt could suddenly become fully collectible through the courts again. Some states have moved to restrict that kind of revival, but under most state laws, it is still a real risk. Be careful before you say or do anything. Here is where the law gets really specific, and where your rights get very real. Debt collectors can still contact you about a time-barred debt in most states. They can call you. They can send letters. That activity is generally still allowed even after the statute of limitations has expired, as long as they follow the rules. But there are firm boundaries on how they can do that. Federal law says collectors cannot call you before 8 in the morning or after 9 at night. That gives them a window of 13 hours each day, and even within that window, they cannot flood your phone. The law caps them at 7 calls within any 168-hour period. If they are blowing past that limit, that is a federal violation. You also have the right to request what is called a debt validation letter. Within 720 hours of first being contacted, you can demand that the collector send you written proof of the debt. Who you owe, how much, where it came from. That is your right and they have to honor it. Now here's the big one. Debt collectors cannot sue you on a time-barred debt. They cannot threaten to sue you either. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has issued a final rule making this crystal clear. Filing suit on zombie debt is a strict liability violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Federal courts have also established that this is what is called a per se violation. That means it is automatically illegal. Full stop. And the collector cannot get out of that by claiming they made a mistake. The law is called strict liability, which means the collector is responsible regardless of what they believed or intended. Saying they thought the debt was still collectible is not a defense. That excuse does not work here. Even if a collector cannot sue you, the debt can still haunt your credit. Under federal credit reporting rules, time-barred debts can appear on your credit report for approximately 7 years from the date of initial delinquency. That is a long stretch of time during which this old debt can affect your ability to get approved for housing, loans, or other credit. This is important context because collectors know this. They may use the pressure of a damaged credit report as leverage. That does not make it okay to threaten illegal action. But understanding that the debt can still exist on paper is part of why ignoring zombie debt entirely may not always be the right move. Some states have gone further with consumer protections on this front. In virtually all states, there are no automatic disclosure requirements around time-barred debts. But in some states, collectors are required to tell you upfront if a debt is past its legal deadline, even if you do not ask. Knowing whether you are in one of those states matters. Let us say someone receives a collection call about a credit card from several years ago. The debt is past the statute of limitations under the laws of the state where they live. The collector calls repeatedly throughout the week, reaching the legal limit, and then tells the person they are going to be taken to court if they do not pay immediately. That threat is a federal violation. Filing suit would also be a violation. The person has the right to demand a debt validation letter within 720 hours of that first contact. And because the collector threatened litigation on a time-barred debt, that is a strict liability violation of the FDCPA. The collector cannot claim they did not know. That defense does not exist under this law. Zombie debt is real. In virtually all states, it does not just disappear when the statute of limitations runs out, but the rules around it strongly favor you as a consumer. Collectors cannot sue. They cannot threaten to sue. They have limits on when and how often they can call. And you have the right to demand written proof before you do anything. If any of this is happening to you right now, do not panic. And do not make any payments or acknowledgments before you understand the rules in your state. That could reset the clock. Now you know the law. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment below with the legal situation you want us to break down next. The law affects every part of your life, and you might as well know how it works. Knowledge is the one thing they cannot take from you. See you in the next episode of Know the Law.